2017 to order. Stand for. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Kuchera.
Here.
Klaus.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
Von Jai. Here. Zeig.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Wolfgang.
Here.
Our next item is brief public input. And before anybody comes forward, I'm going to allow Cheryl, our county representative who's here, because she has to scoot out to another meeting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a Parks and Rec meeting at 6:30, so I appreciate you letting me come first. First of all, good evening to all of you. Good to see you all. When I was here last, I had made a couple promises, and I try to keep those. So I had said I would bring you some of these flyers, which I think you actually do have, but I wanted to bring them because I said I would. These outline all of the activities that the senior center has available, so I'm gonna just give them to you. You know, if you wanna play poker, or take a cruise, or learn how to knit, so there's lots of cool things anyway in there. And I guess you don't even really have to be a senior to belong anymore, you just have to pay your $35, so, used to be, you had to be, I think, 50. But I don't think they check your ID for that anymore, so, yeah, I know, seniors all.
Cheryl.
No kidding, no kidding, did. The other thing that I had talked about at the last meeting was, a map of all of the properties that are owned by the county that, are not, that are, you know, underused or are, just county-owned parcels, i.e. county-owned parcels means that they would be parcels of land that don't generate any tax income. And so this is that map that I promised you all that I would bring, and here's your very own copy that I'm gonna have you put up on the wall or put somewhere so that people can take a look at it. The reason that I brought it was because I said I would, but I also wanted to share with you, we had a pension meeting that some of you may have read about in the newspaper. We're trying to look for ways to solve this very large pension debt that the county has because it hasn't kept up with its responsibilities to make those payments. And one of the solutions we thought might be available would be selling some of these parcels. So we're trying to figure out, can we actually sell them? Because many of them were gifted to us and they came with deed restrictions or they came with other provisions that may not allow us to be able to sell them. Some of them we may be able to give back, which would then get them back on the tax rolls. So the point being that we're looking at all options. If you owed someone a whole lot of money, you would probably look at what you had that you could sell or that you could dispose of in order to pay your debt. So we're trying to be responsible stewards and doing the same thing. The other thing I just wanted to ask you to, you know, give me kind of an unofficial sense is one of the options that was proposed by this pension advisory board that was put together by a prior board was to do a millage, to go out for a millage, to ask the voters to pay a mill, some form of a mill, to pay off this debt that's accrued. And so I'm just kind of trying to feel people out. We haven't come up with a plan yet. We don't know if it's gonna be a pension, a millage, a bond, selling things, you know, cutting county services to 2 days a week. You know, we don't know what we're gonna do, but we have to do something because nobody else has done it and it's gotta be done. So, not that I'm gonna hold you to it, but like, is anybody comfortable like raising their hand if they really like the idea of a millage? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay, and I know it's not a fair question, that you know, nobody likes the idea of a millage, but I mean, if it was a millage or, we were told by the pension advisory board, well, if the citizens don't approve a millage, that means they want their services cut. Should I take that to mean that if you're not supporting a millage, you would support having county services cut? Like, instead of being available to you 5 days a week, maybe they'll be available to you 3 days a week? Is that what you're telling me? Anybody? No? Okay. Okay, that was kind of my sense, but you know, I don't wanna think I have all the answers, so that's why I kinda like to go out and ask people what they think, so, okay. Beyond that, we're diligently searching for a new administrator. I'm on the team that's helping to lead that charge. And beyond that, you know, the Record Eagle keeps you well informed, I'm sure, of all of the wonderful things that we are trying to accomplish. So, any questions or concerns you want to share with me, or no? I would like to say that this map was provided to me by Ron Klaus, who is your other commissioner. Okay, so he gets the props for that. Carl?
Yeah, Cheryl, on that front and center, it also has about the commission agent too. It's not just the senior center, it's also
Absolutely.
commission agent too.
Absolutely.
Okay, it has a section of that.
Targeted for
And also
seniors.
Parks and Recreation too.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, well, you hopefully know where to find me. Thanks so much for letting me go
Thank you.
first.
Thanks,
See you
Cheryl.
next month.
Any other?
This up, you can take work from over here, look at that. So along the village theme, Beta is here in a little bit different aspect, though. Thank you for letting us come today, share some information. Just over a week and a half from now, on May 2nd, Beta will have a millage request on the ballot. It's a 0.5 mill request, and it's for residents in both Grand Traverse and Leelanau County. Just real quick about Beta, we provide over 500,000 rides each year. We offer both fixed route service, which are the dedicated stops at dedicated times, and then on-demand service, which is dial a ride. Traditional, you call up, you schedule a ride, they come pick you up, connect you to a bus, or take you to your final destination. We have a fleet that ranges from small transit vehicles all the way to large school buses, depending on the size or the need of the transportation. Just over 60 vehicles, and our fares start as low as 75 cents one way. We do cover all of Grand Traverse and Leelanau County, which is roughly 900 square miles, or the size of Rhode Island, for the area that we cover. And our drivers, which are fantastic, put about 1.9 million miles on the road. We are on the road 365 days out of the year, and which is all the traveling that they do could be back and forth to the moon about 4 times. So Beta has continued to grow over the last couple of years. Since 2000, 2003, which was the last time that Beta had a millage increase, we went from about 300,000 rides to over 500,000 rides, and continue to operate in our current funding mechanism. So what does that all mean for this area, for Blair Township, for Braun, for Chums Corners, for this? This area is one of the larger usages of our public transportation. So we've got 2 different services that come here. Our Route 12 Village Loop, which has a stop right here in the parking lot, which goes from downtown Traverse City, hits the mall, hits a couple other locations, and then goes to Interlochen, turns around and comes back. That operates basically almost every hour, Monday through Friday, and then a couple times on the weekend. Gave about almost 30,000 rides last year. And then our Link service, which is our dial ride service, came close to 4,000, which is high usage on our Village Loop routes. You can't read this, it's too small, but one of the other things that we've started to do is we've heard from the community that, you know, I would use public transit, but I don't want to be on the bus for an hour. If you were going to get on the bus, for example, at Interlochen or down at Rick's, you could be on the bus for 50 minutes to get into Traverse City if you took all the stops that went that way. So one of the things that we heard is, could you cut it in half? Could you cut the time in half? And that would increase the probability of using it. And so we've started to pilot express routes. And Route 12 here is one of the ones that we've done that. And so in the morning and the afternoon during the commute times, we've got 2 routes that run that will get you downtown in 25 minutes, almost the time that it would take for your car. So that it gives people, and we've seen already a handful of riders already use this. This launched in mid-February. So just real quick, how is Beta funded? Beta's got 3 different pieces of the pie, basically. The FTA gives us about 18% of our funding. We get 38% of our funding from the state of Michigan, from NDOT. And then the largest portion of our pie is local funding, local support. and that comes from the local millage, advertisements that we sell in our buses and our shelters, and then our fare box revenue. And so 35% of that 44% pie is the local millage. So what does the request look like? It'll be a 0.5 mil request. It'll be for 5 years, from 2018 to 2022. Beta's current millage rate is 0.3447, and that expires at the end of December 2017. And just to put that in perspective, the average transit millage rate is 0.6 in the state of Michigan. So how has the region and growth in our community influenced Beta? Basically, in Grand Traverse and Leelanau County, we've added about 15,000 residents, which is roughly throwing another Traverse City into our population mix. And then our region is continuing to age as well. Grand Traverse County is aging at a rate of 5%. Leelanau County is one of the oldest counties by age percentage in the United States, and it's the oldest county in the state of Michigan, with 38% of residents being 60 or older. So, and 177,000 of our rides were given to seniors or disabled folks in 2016. All of our 98% of our buses are equipped with lifts to be handled wheelchairs, those type of devices, walkers, things like that, folks that might need assistance to board or get on or off the bus. And then our buses are also equipped with bike racks for people who are using bike transportation. So we talked about population growth. Beta has not requested a millage increase in more than 14 years, and we've continued to increase services and increase ridership within our current bounds. Federal grant dollars aren't as easily accessible as they were before in the past. We used to be able to get federal grants to help with bus replacement and other things like that, and that money's no longer available. And then we conducted a community needs assessment in 2016, where we met with community organizations, businesses, things like that, and also conducted a public survey to ask, what is Beta doing well, what can we make improvements, and what would you like to see from public transportation in the future? And basically they said, we'd like you to do everything that you're doing right now, and then all these additional things too, and I'll walk through those real quick in a second. So what is it gonna cost us? What's gonna come out of our pocket to support public transit? Right now, if you've got a home that's worth $200,000 with a taxable value of $100,000, you're paying $34 a year right now to support public transit. The millage at a 0.5 would kick it up to $50 a year, at roughly an increase of about $16 depending on your home value. These are some of the other millage rates in our region. Beta would come in at 0.5. It would raise an additional $1.1 million in revenue for Beta, with the combined across the two counties for $3.5 million in local tax revenue. So I told you about those additional things that the community is asking for. So what if the millage passes? What are some of those additional things that we'd be adding? And it's kind of centered around 5 different pillars. One is increased frequency of service in and around Traverse City. You guys know that if you've ever been in town, especially during the summertime, and it seems to be happening year-round now, but especially during the summer, parking is at a premium, traffic congestion downtown. So we've heard from the community, is there a way that public transit can help with that to alleviate some of the strain? I've heard people who say, I'm not even going downtown during the summer because I don't want to fight with the traffic and the parking and things like that. So having a public transit option that will provide more frequency for folks so that they can park on the outskirts of town or get from point A to point B so that they don't have to rely on their vehicle as much. Park and ride improvements. We already highlighted that our express routes, but offering commuter and visitor options to leave vehicles outside of town and use public transit to get in, back and forth. Technology improvements. More and more people are utilizing technology, and public transit, it can be a challenge to navigate a route, to look at a map and say, all right, where do I need to go? So making it user-friendly for people to use public transit. We just integrated, have any of you guys ever used Google Maps before to find directions or things? So all of Beta's routes are now loaded into Google Maps. So you could type in, I want to get from Interlochen or Ricks or Blair Township Hall to the mall. And it will tell you, it'll give Beta as an option that you can go to, and how long it'll take you, how much it'll cost, those type of things. So making it easier for people to use. Making rural service improvements is the other thing that we've heard from folks, especially from our senior community. So right now, for example, if you were in Carlin and you wanted to get into town, a bus could come pick you up, it would pick you up at your door, but then it would connect to another bus that would take you into town, and then you might have to get on another bus to get you to your final destination. And that model works, it's efficient, but it can be inhibitive to using public transit. So what we're hearing is, I want a bus that picks me up at my door, and maybe picks up a couple other people at the same time, takes me to my final destination, and then brings me home. So making rural service improvements from our on-demand service as well, and then fleet and facility improvements. One of the things that we want to do moving forward is purchase vehicles that meet our needs better, smaller vehicles that are more fuel efficient, so we don't have to run large vehicles around on our routes as much, and then also more environmentally friendly vehicles too. We added some propane vehicles to our fleet last year, we're adding some more this year that have lower CO2 emissions, a lower greenhouse gas footprint, less wear and tear on the powertrain, and we're able to control fuel costs better with those, so we can be more fiscally responsible with that. And so expanding our fleet to have that. We are going out and educating folks. There's a website that's got some frequently asked questions, and May 2nd is the, any questions, feedback, thoughts? Yeah.
What's your name and title?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Eric Lindar, I'm the communications manager for the Bay Area Transportation Authority. Thank you.
How do you spell your last name?
Lingaur.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I do have a question. And I'm asking this because I've had voters ask me.
Sure.
And I don't know how to answer them. How was the decision made to have a special election for this?
In May versus.
As opposed to having it on the November ballot?
Sure. It was more timing than anything. The board decided in November of last year that it needed more information, more feedback to be able to share with the public of what direction they were gonna head. And with our millage expiring at the end of this year, the timing just worked out that we landed in an off year for the special election. But moving forward, I think we're gonna adjust our timing to be more with a general election than a special election. That's a good question. Yep, we get asked that as well. Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Hey, Eric,
Yeah.
it's not a question, it's just a statement, but your Beta Brad, who work here on a regular basis,
Yeah.
daily,
Yeah.
we've gotten to know Beta Brad quite well.
Yeah.
And we like Beta Brad.
Beta Brad is fantastic. He was out when I got here waiting to pick up Josh Murphy, who is a frequent rider of ours, to make sure he got home okay. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, something that I had to call. Because I went to work for Easter egg hunt. Our first Easter egg hunt was a success.
Aw.
She can hang it up.
That's really cool. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Oh, nice. That's very
Anytime.
helpful. I love that. The Easter egg hunt was a really big success. It was cool. We had over 500 people here for our first annual Easter egg hunt. Okay, any other public input?
I have some input on the medical marijuana. Would you like me to
Sure.
do it now or when
You
it
can-
comes up? Okay.
They are on the agenda.
Yeah, that's what it's called. My name is Brett Campbell. I'm a property owner of a small site plan condo at 4100 Dye Road. And it's planned for 6 whole buildings. And I would just like to offer my support for relaxation of the medical marijuana regulations, because I get a good amount of tenants applying every week, every month, looking for buildings to rent. So I'm wanting to move forward with my development this fall, and it seemed like a lot of the applicants are medical marijuana growers. So I think it would be a decent location, being whole buildings.
I didn't hear your location. Where are you
Oh, it's
located?
4100 Dye Road. It's a 4-acre commercial development. It was originally called Blair Business Park, and it went bankrupt about 5 years ago. And I've owned it, and I hope to start moving on the building of the development this fall. So it's currently zoned for like 10 site condo pole buildings, so 4,000 square foot split into two. And I think that wouldn't be a bad location, should the regulation be relaxed, and I think I'd want some kind of inspection implemented by the township, if they would do inspections of my buildings, by the tenants on a regular basis. I don't know kind of where that falls within.
Yeah, we haven't even advanced forward with that yet. The medical marijuana discussion is on the agenda tonight. And it's something that the board is going to have to discuss, and we will have to look at our zoning ordinance. And if we were going to move forward and allow the medical marijuana, there's 5 different types of medical marijuana facilities. And if we're gonna move forward on that, what we're gonna have to do is look at our zoning ordinance and change our zoning ordinance, set up rules, regulations, standards. We have the right to decide how many facilities, what type of facility, if we want any facilities. So our first step as a board is to discuss it fully, have good knowledge of it, change our zoning ordinance. Or the other option, if we don't even want to address it, look at it, talk about it, move forward, anything, we just don't even talk about it, we don't change anything, and nothing advances forward. But that is a board discussion, it's on the agenda later. I know we have a couple other people who actually have approached us prior to this meeting and requested time on the agenda, and they're on the agenda. So if you wanna stay more in the meeting and listen in, but as it stands right now, we're in the discussion part. I know that there's a December deadline, approaching, yes, and so I know it's definitely something that we need to talk about and make a decision, so. I invite you to stay for the rest of the meeting. Thank you. Is there any other brief public input? Hearing none. Approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and I'm sure all of the board members have reviewed everything in their packet. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest in tonight's meeting? Hearing none. Presentation and special reports. Cheryl did her county commissioner's report. Community police officer report.
Good evening. How's everybody doing? The Blair Township Community Police Report for March 2017. Township statistics are messed up again. Has nothing to do with me. My personal stats: 6 arrests, 19 citations, 41 incidents. I have an update. First thing here, this case that I worked on this almost all of last year, and the jury found this man guilty, and I attached the article, so I was very happy about that, actually. The next one is kind of humorous, because I know these 2 ladies, I've known them for years, and they've always been friends, but their friendship took a turn for the worse, and one of them woke up and found her van spray painted, and all the air let out of the tires, and then a week later, the other one found her car, tires slashed and keyed, so I tried to talk them into just getting along, but they're not, it's not working out. I think the friendship has went awry. Same thing as last month, in March, I had another roommate use his other roommate's identity and spent a bunch of money. It seems to be the same type of character. Ran up a cell phone bill of like $2,000, and he's also used several names and has a bunch of warrants throughout the state, and I haven't been able to find him.
But you will, I'm sure you will.
Maybe. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but March is Dr. Seuss's birthday. And, his National Reading Month. I only know this because my wife's an elementary school teacher, so I emailed the second grade teachers at Blair Elementary, and they brought me over there, and I read to the kids, and I attached some pictures, to that. And I think they really enjoyed it, because then when I go out and work and go to people's houses, they say, hey, you went to my son's classroom, you went to my daughter's classroom, I really like that, so they go home and say that I was there, so it's a lot of fun. I was there today as well, so that's the report.
Thank you.
I love that you do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
EMS report.
Good evening, Dan O'Brien, Blair Township EMS Director. I don't have much for the board outside the monthly report for March 2007. We had a total of 126 requests for service for EMS services. Of those, 50 were within the township. Additional 76 were with our EMS partners in other townships for our intercepts. As previously stated in the last report, we saw an uptick in our response times. This month is good news. We see a decrease. Discussing informally with the staff, my concerns on our response time seems to be working. Other than that, nothing to add. I think this is the calm before our busy season. Next few months, we'll see an increase in all our call volumes and population within our area. And myself and my staff are ready for that. We have nothing else for you tonight.
That ending AR is kind of scary.
What's that?
That ending AR is kind of scary.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Good
Hi.
evening. How are you? I also, as a department, we went and attended a fire drill at Blair School, so we kind of monitored it. And they were happy, they did a good job, they always do, we always go take care and help them with their lockdown drills too. So, we're present there too. I've attended a couple of conferences, pride and ownership and retention seminars, so that's given me some ideas to help us out. We had one member attend the ICS 400, he's already done the 300, and that's just an upper level incident command school. And then I attended, we have a pipeline in our area that comes from the southwest and goes up through the northeast. And every year, the Pipeline Association and a bunch of others are required to give training to the community. So we go as first responders and attend a dinner and a short little exercise. So we can help know what is available to us and what we can do to help them if there's ever a breach or a spill or a break. So that's pretty important. I taught fire school to the 8 students in class, and they all seem pretty well and pretty ready, so that's a good thing. Not our students, but in the area. And I attended a car seat event, and then I also attended a 8-hour training to keep the certification for myself. So, and the last thing is, this is the time of year where people are wanting to burn brush, and a lot of people are wanting to burn man-made things. So I just want to direct you to the link on our website. It's michigan.gov/burn permit. That'll tell you whether it's a good day to burn or a bad day to burn. Blair Township's always gonna say no, because we cannot burn grass and leaves on the ground because of our population. But you still can burn trees, brush, stumps, and logs if any of the other townships in the map say yes. So Blair Township's always gonna say no. If every one of them says no, it's not a good day to burn. So I'll direct you to that, and then please call me if you have any questions or anything about burning. We'll be able to help. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Grand Traverse County Road Commission.
He's not gonna be here. He had something else going on.
Darn, that's the one time I had a list for. Announcements and correspondence.
Yes.
Yes, Carl.
I have an update on hairspray. At the last meeting, I did do the form and sent it in to the Cherry Festival, and then they got back to me, and I believe we're gonna be in it just like last year, that's how they did it. But by May 9th, I will know the lineup and what's happening. They're gonna tell us more on May 9th. So, after May 9th, I will be bringing up, and we'll start on, talk to Andy Nickerson and the truck and go for it, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
I have one, I just received this. It's just a, well, it's just a contract. It really, Lindsay and I, along with the community garden grant, in speaking with the Health Department of Northwest Michigan, they've also awarded us another grant for sunscreen dispensers. They will provide, well, it's, skin cancer awareness in the state of Michigan. In an effort to increase the preventative behaviors and the decrease of skin cancer incidences across the region, the Health Department of Northwest Michigan received a grant from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services with funds originating from the Center for Disease Control for the implementation of evidence-based environmental changes that promote safe sun practices. These cancer prevention interventions support a culture of health in Northwest Michigan, and the health department has decided to give this to Blair Township. We have the splash pad. They will provide us with posts, with sunscreen dispensers, batteries for the dispensers, as well as a year's supply of sunscreen that we can add into the dispenser. And actually, I believe because they also awarded us the community garden grant, they're going to give us two. So we can have one sunscreen dispenser at the splash pad and one out at the community garden. There is a catch to it. They will continue to provide the batteries and sunscreen as long as they have the money, but there possibly maybe a year that they won't be able to. And the cost is like $32 for a summer supply of sunscreen. So when I spoke to her on the phone, I said, I'm pretty sure the township would support that and could fund it, and if they can't, I can, so let's just go for it. And it was very short notice. I do have the contract right here. It is something that I would have to sign and send back, as long as I have board support for that. Again, it's not costing us anything up front. They will bring all of the stuff to us, and Bill, our maintenance Bill, said that he would be more than happy to install the posts for it. We had our choice between metal or wooden posts, and I told her I would prefer a wooden post to kind of go with our decor, so, and we can cement them in. Does that sound good, is it?
Oh,
Okay.
oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any other announcements or correspondence? Okay. The consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without any discussion. Any member of the public, board, or staff may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for a full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. Is there any member of the public that would like anything pulled from the consent calendar? Seeing none, any board or staff?
I did have a question, did we get a supervisor's report this time?
No.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, cause I didn't.
Because
see
you
it.
were missing yours?
I did ask Lindsay for a few grammatical corrections in hers.
Yeah. No, I just stuck in the, this,
I just wanted to make sure that I didn't put it in.
okay.
Motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the consent calendar as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Unfinished business, and new business. Okay. Item A, Combined Water Sewer Ordinance Fund. We have Mr. John Axe here with us. John is the township's attorney representing the township for this water sewer ordinance. And I'll let him speak, and then if anybody has questions, I'm gonna allow that, so.
I do wanna say that, there was a notice published about this meeting in the Traverse City Record Eagle on April 17th, and it was also put on our website. By law, we are not required to publish a notice, but we did to let the public know.
Thank you very much. I'll give you a little background. I know the board all knows this, so I'll ask you to listen again. We were contacted by the township toward the end of last year, and it was because there was a concern with a bond issue which was issued a number of years ago. It's a water revenue bond issue. And that water revenue bond issue had a lot of covenants in it, as is common in a bond issue of that type, which required certain reserves to be established and required the township at any time, if it didn't appear that they were collecting enough money to keep these reserves up and fully fund them, to increase the water rates to accomplish that. At the same time, the township had discovered, I think, at least rather suddenly, that there were difficulties with collecting revenues from township properties, that is, properties owned by the township itself, and that, in fact, there had been free service given for quite a number of years to a number of township properties, and a great number of gallons of water were not paid for. And so we were asked to look into all of that. Our first conclusion was that the free service violated state law, which it does, and ultimately the township will be required to pay that back, essentially, to the water department. It's sort of paying it back to yourself, but not exactly. And that needs to be done. That was number one. Number two, it was clear that this problem, which I think had been around for quite a number of years as far as not meeting the covenants, was going to bite the township pretty hard if we didn't do something immediately. Our first contact was to the Farmers Home Administration, now called Rural Development, which is a federal administration that bought the bonds from the township. It was a very long-term bond issue, 40 years. And it was clear we were gonna have to do something. I suggested that rather than tell the township to double or triple the water rates, which we would have had to do, that it might make sense to combine the sewer system with the water system. They were set up independently, because the sewer system is very solvent and the water system, frankly, is teetering. And so I wanted to make sure that the people in Washington or their local representatives would agree to do that. And they informed me that they would not agree to do that it was their contention that you had to operate these separately, even though it made no financial sense to do that, because one of the reasons we were essentially in technical default was we couldn't use any of the money in the sewer system to pay the water debt. Basically, that's what it amounted to. Even though there was plenty of money there, and the water system could have easily paid interest to the sewer system to take care of this, but that would not satisfy them. I then discussed with him who his supervisor might be in Washington, and he said he would be glad to tell me that, but he said this was a policy of longstanding, and he didn't anticipate that we would be able to get that changed anytime soon. And having had some experience working with federal bureaucracy, I concluded that he was probably right. So I said, well, if that's the case, I said, what we'll have to do is refund the bond issue and pay your bonds off completely, so we are no longer in this soup. Well, he said, you can do that if you want to. He thought the better approach was to raise the rates. I told him I did not think the township board would be delighted with that idea, and I thought that the customers would be less delighted. And so what we did then is begin work on an ordinance. We started on this in, I guess, late January, and we've gone through a number of drafts of the ordinance. And basically, the ordinance is now in front of you to be considered. We had a meeting a week ago to discuss it. It was a public meeting to get input. And I think the township board went over it thoroughly. I know everyone on the township board has seen 2 or 3 drafts. You're probably tired of looking at it. In any event, it's ready to be adopted. And a further item which I thought would be useful, I gave a detailed memo last week to the township about this system and what needed to be done. I also raised the issue of needing to pay back the money which had not been paid. And Lisa has prepared some analysis on that. And basically, I have a copy of that analysis, which indicates that probably the amount to be paid back is approximately $297,000. And I recommended, since that's a large number, that it be paid back over a period of years and without interest, because it's a pretty substantial amount of money. And that would be spread over 6 years. In addition to that, a large number of areas of the township were not charged the hydrant rentals, and those would have to be reestablished and collected in the future. And that will raise an additional approximately $50,000 in the first year. Those are actual revenues which will come into the system. That 297 won't come in all at once, it'll come in over a period of time. And that will make the water system certainly more solvent than it is currently. The good news is that in doing some calculations, we concluded, and I have a report which the township has received, showing that the current debt on, and this is from September 1 on the existing water revenue bond issue, extending out through the balance of the issue, which is finally paid off in 2051. The total debt, principal and interest, is just over $4 million, $4,088,600. MFCI has prepared at our request a proposed new bond issue to pay off that $2.7 million issue. We concluded that once we issued the new bonds and set up the combined system, that there would be sufficient money available from a lot of the reserves that you're required to keep, and extra money that you kept on hand because you were afraid you were gonna go bankrupt, quite frankly, in the system, not the township itself. That there was about, well, there was more than really $600,000 available. We recommended using $500,000 of that, and instead of issuing $2.5 million in bonds to refund this, that we would have to issue only $2 million. And if we did that, the new total debt on that new issue, which wouldn't be issued until this September, would be issued incidentally through the county, which gets a little better interest rate. The total debt there worked out to $2,747,720, or a savings to the township and ultimately to the customers of the water system of about $1,340,000, which is quite a lot of money. And so it's our recommendation that that will be done and that should be done. We aren't taking any action on that tonight because we're not ready to. The first step is to approve the new ordinance. In addition to that, there's another issue through the county of water revenue bond, just water bonds, but not revenue bonds, of about $2,415,000, and that bond issue can be refunded in September as well, and there's a savings there of another $151,000, which you'd realize over the years from 17 through 23. basically then, for that reason, we recommend that you go ahead and adopt the, as a first step, because that's only a step, the combined ordinance. I'm here to answer any questions about that ordinance. That's what we're really doing tonight. I'll be back with the proposals to do the other things, the second step, which we'll start work on probably in June, I suppose, leading up to the September membership. I'll be happy to take any questions over from the board or from any member of the public.
I definitely liked your numbers.
Yes.
Me too, John, and, I wanna say, first of all, I am so relieved. I have been sick since December. We came into office as a new board in November. We figured this out by the end of December, the first part of January, the crisis we were in, as a brand new board. I am proud of us, you guys.
And Lisa's how,
Without Lisa, I don't know that we would have caught on as fast as we did, that is a fact. And to the residents out here, I'm not sure, I'm just gonna reiterate, a recap of a $1,340,000 $879.17
and then it's another
savings,
151.
and then another $151,037. So we're talking almost $1.5 million that we will save in interest alone. We were in a crisis, and I'm truly, I'm gonna pass on that, because I think together with us as a board and with our community and our members of our community, I think we got a great team going on, and, we figured this out really, really fast, and I am super proud.
Lisa
Great
did
job.
an
Yes.
awesome
Yes.
job.
Yes.
Thank you.
She was leading our way.
Yes, and I thank you.
All right.
I
Sure,
am
Josh.
so relieved.
Well, we're glad we were able to find a solution. I must tell you, for a while, I was trying to figure out how big the increase was gonna have to be, and once I concluded it, as I think, and I discussed this with Lisa too, when I saw how big it was, I knew that was not gonna be the solution, because it wouldn't be fair.
That was the
Just would not have been
solution we
fair.
were given when
No.
we started questioning this. Just double or triple the water rates.
Exactly.
Put it on the backs of the residents.
Well,
And
that
we
was,
said,
that was a recommendation from the federal agency, of course, they just thought that was, in fact, they were mad that we weren't doing that.
Yeah,
You know, I guess it's wonderful to be in Washington and tell people, look, here what you ought to do.
and that's what would have had to have happened had we not caught on to this.
Oh, there's no question, you would have been chewed on big time by
Yeah.
them any day. In fact, I think they already had notified some of the people who were here before, and they just basically ignored it.
Yes,
I mean, this is something that's gone on for a while, but people knew about this, clearly.
yes,
I just don't think it was shared properly.
correct.
Anyway.
Thank you, John, for
All right.
this. Thank
If
you,
there aren't any
Lisa.
other questions, I've got kind of a long drive.
Yeah,
Yes.
So,
Thanks, John.
I wanna
Thank you
thank
very
you all, I wanna tell the audience and the members of the board, this board understood the problem, because they figured it out before they called me. And once I went through it, they were willing to explore the possible options. I think there were lots of questions, I certainly did my best to answer them, I think they're comfortable today. And this is just the first step, I'll be back when we do the refundings, and, I think when you get done, you have a good system, and I just think it was unfortunate that this was ignored, particularly the illegal service, which is, there's really no excuse for that. Anyway, I wanna thank you all, I've enjoyed working with you, and if it's okay, I'm gonna sneak out.
All right.
Thank
All
you,
right.
John.
Thank you, John.
Tonight, but I forgot to assign it ordinance number, I can go get one quick.
why don't you go grab one and we'll adopt this, no, we got it, well, she's gonna go get for the next ordinance. Sorry, you guys, we're gonna go get an ordinance number and, move forward with adopting this water and sewer ordinance tonight. So then we can move, just keep moving forward. Thank you for that.
that we didn't have enough money to.
This, I think if anybody, I don't know if you grabbed it or not, but I think what John gave us, which actually has all the numbers and figures, he left extra copies on the back table, so if anybody wants to look at that, it's pretty staggering. Lisa, you were the rock star. It's true. It's true.
It is true, Lisa.
Thank you. We were
My
just-
modesty, but everybody loves
We were waiting to hear you say that, Lisa. It's just nice to have people that listen to me.
It is beyond nice, it was awesome. Finally have people hearing it. And then there's something good about it. Sorry about that.
It's gonna be ordinance number 100-17. And I would make a motion to adopt ordinance 100-17, the combined water and sewer ordinance.
I'll second.
It's been moved and supported to adopt ordinance 100-17, the combined water sewer ordinance. Any discussion? No discussion? Could we have a roll call vote?
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Knight,
Yes.
Kuchera,
Yes,
Blondstein,
Yes.
Faust,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
You know what, we should. The other part with what John talked about tonight, presented tonight, was the totals, from the general fund that is actually owed back. Yes, and if we take action on this right now as part of this water sewer ordinance adoption, for one of our budget hearings, we can work this back into the 2017-2018 budgets.
Going forward, Lisa, can we get a monthly, like in the next couple days, a monthly of what? Yeah.
Well, I know.
Personal. You're getting Bob there. It's great.
So I guess,
Just so we, so we know what to budget for, because we're gonna start paying it, you know.
in July. So I guess I'm looking for somebody maybe to,
Yes, I would make a motion to include starting in July, the repayment of the $297,913.38 spread over 6 years for an annual payment of $49,652.23. And isn't there some additional, something about that?
without,
With
with no
no
interest.
interest.
Support.
It's been moved and supported, starting in the 2017-2018 budget year, for the general fund to start repaying the water fund, the $297,913.38 spread over 6 years with no interest for an annual payment of $49,652.23. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have one question. Is this mine or is this yours? That was a big question, but, Lisa, what is this number through? Is it through like March 31st, or is it through,
This is, yes, this is through current,
Billy?
right, and if you're gonna begin paying, because I know that the irrigation is gonna start most likely in May. So I'm assuming that that's just gonna be now a monthly bill that will be submitted and paid. This is through basically March 31st.
March 31st,
Yes.
so we need April's bill.
You have to now be, and it's calculated at the end of the month.
We couldn't start this fiscal year? Instead of,
49,000.
instead of wait till July?
It wasn't budgeted
Yeah.
for
It's-
this
I
year,
know,
But-
I realize that, but
yeah.
But we'll be picking up the monthly bills right now, from this point.
We'll be paying the monthly bills,
We're paying the
yes.
monthly
And then I
bills
think
and then starting-
this payment starting in July, once, because
okay,
the
that's-
goal
that's
is
fine.
by September to start getting the bonds paid
Yeah.
off and
I mean, we could always look, we still got May, we could look at the budget.
I mean,
and-
I'm just thinking if we could pay it sooner, the better. Is my thought, but we can go with this one and we can change it if we want to.
we talk about it budget time
And
here.
irrigation was on all day today.
Oh, for Pete's sakes. Why didn't you pay, you know?
Here?
That was
We
irrigation.
weren't paying for that.
No.
That was a gift.
That's just a hard time for Lisa.
Dennis, do you want to amend your motion, just saying we'll, at budget, at our next budget meeting, we'll look at the general fund budget
Yes.
and
So that, motion will be amended to take a look at the budget in May to see if it can be amended then.
To possibly make a payment out of this record.
Okay, I'll still support that.
let's do a roll call.
Bells? Yes.
Wolfgang? Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Fleischstein?
Yes?
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Zeit?
Yeah.
And Kuchar.
Yes,
Is this mine?
All right. James Auto Parts. Request for variance from the water ordinance.
Hello, my name's Clay Denton. Sorry, I got a little bit of laryngitis going on.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hi, Clay.
Hi. As you know, we've had a rough year. Now the county wants us to put a $250,000 sprinkler system in, which we're gonna do, but we gotta run a line under the road, and we gotta call it a main line. And under your ordinance, that means we have to run it from property line to property line. Well, my brother owns the property on both sides, which we lease. On the other side of that is the power lines.
Right.
So it's a bridge to nowhere. It's gonna cost us a lot of money to do this, for something that'll never be used. I'm asking for a variance on that. So we don't need to waste that kind of money for something that'll never be used. We have our property on both sides, we have a power line right here, where it's not going anywhere. We had a meeting here with probably 6 other people. I think everybody in the room agreed that it's not necessary.
Was that a planning commission meeting?
No, it was on the, Bill Craig and Jim.
I was there, Jimmy, we talked to Brett Slater, we had him on the phone.
I have a question.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't, excuse me if this why will it never be used? What if, the property to the north,
Is owned by my brother.
Okay.
We lease from him.
okay. So,
And the power lines are on the other side of that.
okay, but, a business could go into the north of you.
On the other side of the power lines, which they already have a fire hydrant just down the road, closer than what we would be at. And why should we have to run line from property line to property line? Why should we have to pay for that? Did we pay our taxes, or we should be punished because the water line is on the opposite side of the road? So we should have to bring the line underneath and supply everybody else? Didn't we pay for that just as much as anybody else did? This line will never be used.
Well, wouldn't it be, if you have another fire, wouldn't it be used then?
No, we're running the line to the building. No, we're running the line 500 feet to the building. It's not gonna be cheap.
So this isn't for a hydrant.
We're already putting hydrant in.
Do you have anything?
Do I?
Next one?
Well, you know, the ordinance states that you have to run a property line, property line. Everybody else in the township has done it. You know, it could open a can of worms if there's a variance on it. The thing is if, you run it as a main extension, you have to go property line to property line, okay? And you can run one line under the road, an 8-inch line to a fire hydrant and fire suppression into the building. If you don't run it as a main extension, you can run a 6-inch line, for your fire hydrant, but then you have to run a separate line, for your fire suppression to going into the building, so there'd be 2 lines going under the road. One for the fire hydrant, one for the fire suppression in the building, and whatever size that is would be determined by what you need for your water supply. And, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but everyone else has had to do it, you know?
There's already water on that side of the road. You got drinking water on that side of the road already.
Well, you guys have a curb stop there. And, you're right, there is no water main on that side of the road till you get down to Menards and it jumps the road. But, I mean, and then if, you know, you do run it as a main extension, you do have to run it property line, but then you gotta have ways to flush that water main. There's gotta be blow off there or hydrant, whatever the DEQ approves, and that's another thing, when you run it as a main extension, DEQ has to approve it. So, I mean, I understand where he's coming from, but then again, I understand where the township would be coming from, because everybody else had to run property line to property line. And everyone in the future is gonna be expected to run a property line to property line. And that's the tough decision that you guys have to make.
I think it's ridiculous. You know, to run the line under the road and have to run a property line to property line, you know? And like I said, we all pay our taxes, just because that line's on the other side of the road, the businesses on the other side should not be punished. You know, so this is already gonna cost a lot of money. You know, and so you're hurting businesses by doing this. You know, and it's not gonna be used. Who's gonna tap into it? Who? We've gotta go across the property my brother owns, and you have the power lines on the other side of the road, on the other side of that. You know? You're just running spider webs of water lines all over the place, for no reason.
Well, if that property were to sell, it is in the ordinance, so if we were to waive that for you, what about the business guy that had to pay it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or the next business guy that comes in?
You're setting
It would be setting a
You're setting
precedence.
precedents, but it's a bridge to nowhere.
that's what, unfortunately, you know, a lot of people feel that way, but they still have had to do it, and they've had to pay it. Your benefit fees, I believe you've already been given a waiver
On the,
for your water.
we have a well, yes.
You have a well.
If the well ever goes
But-
bad, we'll have to hook up.
You'll
yes.
have to hook up if your well goes bad, but if your well doesn't, and you were given a special variance,
No,
or a
not for
special.
water, we were.
Oh, you were bringing
Yes.
the waiver for the
Wait.
benefit fees, the 69.
Oh, right.
That's
Yes,
$6,900
yes.
that-
Apologize, yes.
The township or whatever already waived for you. And so again, they kind of set a precedence, for the next business guy who is going to rebuild or add on, who's not hooked up to the water system. The township board waived it for you, so the next guy who comes in, he's gonna say, well, Jeans didn't have to pay it, I don't wanna pay it either. And I'm
We already have a
playing
well,
both ways. So do a lot of other people.
Which did not have to hook up to it.
No, we still had to pay.
But
the
still had to
benefit
pay.
fees for the reoccupancy.
Yes.
Well, how about this then? Since you have power lines to the north of us, how about if we just run the line to the south? Would that be
One
fair?
way?
One way. Cause you
Do
got
we
a
cut it
massive
in
power
half?
line to the side. Just we'll do what you say, but we just won't go to the north, we'll go to the south.
So you run 400 feet.
We'll run it whatever happens, I don't know what the distance is.
Even if you were cut in half, because I think you're over 800 feet, so that would be a half, that would be a huge price break for you.
Yes, it would.
I think,
The problem is the government is making things way too
I
expensive
understand that.
now.
I see your
It's
point.
getting ridiculous.
I know,
I could live with that.
it's hard.
I mean, even the.
It's hard to sit up here. Your first thought is you wanna say, yeah, we heard the business, we went, but again, we're setting a precedence. We have an ordinance, I mean, the 50% thing, I definitely consider that.
We'd be willing to do
100%.
that. That would
And I'm speaking for me
that-
personally,
that
not
would
the
help
rest
a
of
lot.
the
We'd
board.
run the line to the south to our property.
And you know, we appreciate you, we appreciate your business, we appreciate your business in the township. So, and I'm done talking, I'm not, somebody else, they want to, but that's my feeling, does anybody else want to?
If it would run to the south.
Hey, Patrick, hey, do you have a picture there?
Now, when you say to the south,
You're-
Clay, are
you're
you
talking-
saying to the south of where the property, the business is currently? Because that's going to include the property that you leased from your brother.
That's not my property, that's his property.
That's him, that's that. You're also using that for the business.
This is, yeah, so to the south would be this way?
Yes. Yes. There's a
Since with
GIS,
that name.
and he's extending the main approximately by your driveway then, Clay?
Correct.
Then you'd be extending the main for
To run it,
not
are you
even,
saying this way?
what, 50 feet maybe? It'll be coming in
Oh, okay.
approximately right there.
I would have no problem with this.
This is what was proposed for, you guys can see it. Can you see it? I know, right? And then you can just pass that down. Right there is the main gonna be dragged over, here is the existing driveway. If you look at the GIS,
Right.
I mean, right there's property line. If he's only going to south, this
Oh, so-
property line and not going.
And not here?
Well,
I thought that was a.
that's also part of the business, but that's his brother's property. So then you wouldn't even be looking at a 50-foot extension at that point.
And why would you go this way and not that way?
Cause you have power lines on the other side of the road, on the other side.
This right here. What are different tax?
How many feet of frontage do you have there?
I don't know
Right
exactly.
here.
Probably,
Right there's the power lines.
Yeah.
probably.
Then you've got more right here, well, basically to run it any further
I'm not sure exactly.
north, but nobody would be connecting with that, but we've got a hydrant with an extension right here that was put in by Action Water Tools. Now, on their property, mind you, but they brought it over for fire suppression. also have in our ordinance a payback agreement. In our ordinance, we do have a payback arrangement that the board agrees to it if you were to extend your main other properties, say your brother's property, whether it be north or south, regardless. And you have, I believe it's 15 years payback arrangement that, say your brother sells the property, you move the stuff off of there, they sell it, they connect to the water, they build something out in there, then they would have to pay you back the front foot for that main extended across that property.
I have no problem going to the south. I see the north being pointless. Like you said, you have power lines there.
Which means what? I'm sorry, I don't,
For somebody to connect to.
nobody's gonna build there, nobody's
No.
gonna,
No. Consumers Power owns that
Okay.
swath
You
of
can't
dirt
do-
that runs across the
You
whole
can't build on
township,
that.
across the whole county, actually. 300 foot, I think 330 foot wide swath, that's just for the power lines, and Consumers Power owns it. I don't foresee that ever being sold or built.
Mhm.
Not in our lifetime, anyway.
So are we talking north all the way to the, or, I don't know where north and south is, so it doesn't matter. The one way, we're talking all the way to the business property line, not yours, but the business.
Either one. If it makes you happy, either one.
That would make me happier.
Right? If you want that, we'll do that. As long as we don't have to go to the north. Still don't agree with it, but that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
Either that, Nicole, or if you guys don't decide to grant the variance, maybe give them a break on the tacking fees for 2 taps or,
We've already gotten breaks in benefit fee.
okay. Well, it was just an idea.
Double door and all that, wouldn't you?
You'd have double more, huh?
I think our best bet's to go with it and have him go to the south. My thought.
I mean, is it gonna be cost effective? I mean, because if you run it to the south, it'd be, to be main extension, you're probably gonna have to have another fire hydrant on the end of that property.
Another fire hydrant?
Oh, down here.
Yeah, where
No,
you,
it's not gonna be that far because the
Wrong.
high,
well, generally every 3 or 4 feet, you got this, there's gonna be
Yeah.
some kind of
It's
blow
not
off
gonna-
assembly.
Don't worry, he's got his hydrant
There's
in
gonna
his
be-
drive
yeah, you're only
and running
looking
that
at
main,
maybe 50
he's
feet
gonna be
here.
with less
Probably
than
only be a blow off down
a
there.
footage. So I don't think that he would, well, listen to me as Jim's there.
What's
So
that?
that's only 150 feet,
Yeah,
that
so
second
you wouldn't have
parcel.
Okay, well then
You're
there'd
gonna have to have
be
a
a
blow
blow
off.
off assembly there.
Right.
then.
But not a
hydrant.
hydrant, that's only another 150 feet. You'd be looking at approximately 200 feet, because your driveway is right almost at that south property
Mhm.
line.
Yep.
Looking at the GIS, and Bill's got that, Bill Crane has that pulled over just north of your driveway, just a little
Mhm.
by the existing curb stop. So you'd be looking at approximately 200 feet.
I gotta say this, I thought I understood this after talking to Lisa, but I didn't know that that piece of property to the north is Consumers Power. So we're gonna make him put in,
That's Consumers Power right there.
okay,
This is his,
Yep.
this and this is his brother's.
Yes, correct.
so we're gonna
And the
make him
business is
put
utilized.
water
This
of
is-
main extension right here.
Well, to here, it would be, because it's gonna be pulled in approximately here.
Okay, but there's no main down here,
No,
None.
none till you get
There's
to
a,
Menards?
there's a
Right here.
hydrant right there with an
Yep,
extension off
action
of it.
water pulls on main extension and a hydrant over here.
But on the
So,
other side,
It's on the same side.
same side?
So even if he had to hook, say his well failed and he had to hook up to the water,
Mhm. There's a curb stop on his property, and then you can
Which
also go into
means-
an agreement, well, that would be for the service line, for the building. And then you
So-
would extend the main down to here, and then you could go into an agreement to where if that south property were ever to be sold and built upon, then that Mr. Denman could be paid back by the front foot for the main extension. For the 150 foot, that is.
Which goes from,
I guess the thing I'm worried about, that I need to get clear in my mind, is there a way to connect from this spot to this spot? Because if there's not,
Yes,
it doesn't make sense.
yes, Lynette, there is. But what we're saying is because the power line runs through here, and it's 330 foot wide, what he is contending, which is probably true, because of the power line, consumers owns it.
Right.
No, even if you were to sell this, somebody's not gonna come in and put up a great big huge building,
Mhm.
because there's not room for it.
Yeah.
So
But
the
yes,
township would in
yes.
essence have to pay for that swath,
Exactly.
or, because I'm sure consumers isn't going to.
Right.
I'm not a water and sewer operator, I
That's
don't.
fine.
You know, the
I'm
township-
happy that you're learning, and I'm learning.
So if his well failed, there's a curb stop that would,
That's existing on
We
his
would have to
property.
hook up to it, yes.
That's
It's
his
already on
property
that
side.
side of the road.
does anybody want?
no, I think, well, do you wanna see? I don't need another compare. Cause I don't know what they highlighted, so I.
What, Roger?
On this property line on the south.
Yeah, he's gonna run it across his brother's.
Okay.
It's approximately 150 feet.
And you've got the section of the ordinance right there that I've highlighted that requires the property line extension.
I'm very late.
It hurts. Okay. Any more discussion? Any more questions?
I just wanna say, and Nicole said it before, we want business. We just gotta, we gotta look out for the
I
township
understand where
too,
you're coming from.
and it's nice
I
when we
understand
can
you're coming.
compromise.
The government regulations are getting out of control, out of control. To build a $200,000 building nowadays costs you $500,000. About $500,000 costs you $1 million. I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, my dad started this business in 1958, kind of women of prayer. He didn't have any money. The sad thing about it today is, let's say there's some young man coming up. He doesn't have a whole lot of money, but he's got a lot of ambition. He can't start this. He can't start something like this. It's sad. This is what's caused a lot of poverty in America. Because young people can't go anywhere. They can't start a business. You know, because it's so overregulated, it's ridiculous. It's a sad, sad state. And I feel sorry for them. I see absolutely no reason why we should have to pay to hook up other people's water. You know, when we're the ones paying for putting a line under the road, shouldn't they be paying to come across to hook up to our water? We're the ones that are paying all the expense. Why should we be punished? I think it's wrong. I think it's very wrong. And I think you should set a precedence and not make people do this. You know, whatever.
Maybe we should just run names up.
Yeah, that's what I mean, bring them down both sides of the road. I pay my taxes.
And regardless, there's either gonna be one stagnant dead end or two, which we don't like as operators.
Well, you're better with one than two.
Yeah.
Right.
Does somebody want to make a motion? Does somebody, any more questions, any more discussion?
I would make a motion that we, give a variance to running the main from the entryway south to the end of his brother's property line, which would be basically half of what the original main would be. Does that make any sense?
No.
No, okay.
We would be giving a variance to not require him to run the main to, the north.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're basically,
So he'll-
we're actually cutting it more than half, it's
So
about
the variance is to
three-quarters.
run it only south of it, and you will
No
not be.
variance
No
to the
variance,
south.
just,
That we would,
We're
there's no
varying
variance.
from the ordinance
yeah,
by not requiring him
to run the
run it.
main property line to property line, only requiring him to run it from this drive to the south.
And there's the parcel number, and we're gonna run it to the south line.
So we're granting the water main extension from the property line south, which is 028-00. In all the connections under this ordinance to cover the actual cost to do this.
Try again?
I won't go in. That goes after that.
I know how to turn the water on. Oh my gosh.
Well, the requirement is to run it from property line to property line.
Correct.
So if the board so chooses to grant the variance from that requirement, to run it from where Mr. Denman proposes to pull it over and only require it to be south to the parcel, I believe is, it's 016-028-00, because it's property to that south property line, approximately 200 feet south.
So are you still looking for wording for a motion?
Yeah, that
Would you like me to make a
Yeah,
motion?
you go for it, you can.
Do it. To grant Jean's Auto a variance from the water ordinance by not requiring them to run the main the full length of the property, but only requiring them to run it to the south to the property line number 016-028-00. 2802 on the beginning of that, but. Good?
I'll support that.
Yeah, it's been moved and supported to approve the variance from the ordinance for Jean's Auto Parts. Rather than running property line to property line, he will be required to run south to 028-00.
Who supported?
I do.
Roger. Any more discussion? Let's do a roll call.
Zikes? Yes.
Longshine?
Yes.
Kuchera?
Yes.
Klaus?
Yes.
Wolfgang?
Yes.
Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Yeah, Clay, I remember the time when moving from Acme out here, okay? And I used to hang out with, Junior, okay? And that was in the late sixties, okay? And, used to buy the Baby Moon's cupcakes, okay? Put on our 57 Chevys. That was cool. Good time. Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What's that?
My dad started his the same year.
I know you did.
I didn't realize.
Thank you for staying.
We all got over it. Yeah, we did.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, item C, medical marijuana discussion, Mr. John Milborn and company, Eric.
No.
Jim. I thought it was Eric.
Eric was the beta guy.
No, I'm It's Eric. Oh,
No. My name is Jim Carr from Interlochen. This is John Milborn from Blair Township. And we too have paper to pass out.
There's only 4 of them, and we'll get more. We were under the impression there was only gonna be 4 members.
Yeah, I didn't realize this was gonna be this big of a meeting of this week.
Sure.
But it's quite interesting. The reason we are here is we wanna open a cultivation facility and a provisioning center in Blair Township. As you know, this past fall, the state revisited the medical marijuana law and revised it in a big way. They're gonna regulate everything basically from seed to sale. Everybody's gonna pay taxes now. And, it's up to each township and municipality to decide if they want any provisioning center, transporter business operating in their township, grow facilities, testing facility, and,
Testing facilities.
yeah.
Oh.
It's not gonna be tested, so the grow will come through.
Oh.
Not that type of testing.
Oh, okay, all right.
So
No, they actually, that testing facility will test for, like the THC, the CBDs, just all kinds of stuff. And then they'll check also if you're using any,
harmful chemicals.
harmful chemicals.
And they'll check for mold, for mildew, for pests
Yep.
and stuff.
And who
like that.
does this testing?
A testing facility that's licensed
That
through the
you-
state.
Oh,
Like
okay.
if we wanted to start a testing facility, we could, but then we couldn't be involved with cultivation or transport. Right?
Yep.
So like I could start a testing facility?
No, because you should sit on a
You're a
township board.
Oh,
So you
right,
can't be
but
Anybody in the
someone in
audience.
the audience
Right,
could,
they
any,
can start a facility, get licensed through the state, and be able to do the testing. So what they've done is divide it up into 5 different areas for businesses, and then it gets approved by that township.
right.
So what I have in the handout here, the first page would be the type of structure we'd be looking to put up, and the gentleman who was here earlier might already have structures that we'd be interested in, actually. So it's gonna be similar to what you see in the township, more in the farm area, in the industrial park, and that type of thing, post frame type building. The next picture I have is Traverse City currently has, I believe, 9 provisioning centers existing right now or coming online here in the next couple months. And this is just the first picture of one on Front Street, and you can see it's a block away from the residential area. The next one is on Front Street, that'd be next to J&S Hamburger. And the third one that we took a picture of, just to show you what they look like, is near Munson Hospital. So,
Oh, what?
the third picture,
Oh,
which would
okay.
be provisioning center C,
Like in a house?
that used to be a medical office, and they bought the building and put provisioning center in there. So, the next little bit of the handout I have is just lately how politically it's been going. And we may finally get the Republicans and Democrats in Congress to agree on one thing, and that's fighting Jeff Sessions on what he believes on marijuana, medical marijuana. So a little background on there. I heard today 81% of the people in the country support medical marijuana. And there's just the results right there from surveys I've just recently done. And then there's some health stories in the back, just to give people an idea who maybe haven't kept up with the issue and still believe basically the propaganda from the drug war before. So the only problem we have in this township for setting up a provisioning center or grow is you have a 1,000-foot rule from any residence, which pretty much covers the entire township, except I believe some little posted size place south, way south of here. So, what we're here is to see if you're considering amending or changing the ordinance.
Like the city, the only thing they have on the city is 1,000 feet for, and I don't even know if it's 1,000, it could be 750. But anyway, from a school, that's it. Because the residential, and they've had them for 3 or 4 years with no problems.
Oh, so it's not something brand new?
It's not brand new.
Oh, no.
Oh,
And what we're proposing would be after December anyway, because
Right, because right now, these are illegal.
they're illegal.
They are illegal.
They are
Okay.
illegal.
In Traverse City.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the city granted them and gave
Yeah.
them
Right.
permission to do it with the thing, they put it right on the wall, so they're not being bothered.
Right. Just, it's the same in Acme Township for the
Yeah.
current one, and the same thing in Green Lake.
But any provisioning center right now that's currently open and operating is illegal.
That's correct.
But effective in December, it will be legal?
What they're,
Yes.
what the state is doing after December 17th, or even maybe a month or two before, they're gonna allow people to start submitting applications. And they do full background checks on everybody and everybody who works for you. And so the ones that are currently operating are operating illegally under state law. The county of Grand Traverse and the city has decided to allow them. And if nobody's gonna come and arrest you and they tell you you can do it, you can do it.
Now, the provisioning centers are where you buy your marijuana.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You have to have
You have to have a state issued ID card that basically, you get a card by going to your physician or another physician, and he will write up a recommendation, you apply to the state. and
With
they
$10.
send you a card.
Something like this.
what's $10?
It'll be different than this
Or
because
whatever
this is
it
just a
is.
medical
Is it 10 or
marijuana.
It's like
20?
$60.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
It
not
used to
on.
be $100 for
Since
one
you got
year, now
yours,
it's
I got mine.
60 for two, yeah.
And when you buy this marijuana, how do you get, is it like,
It can come in a jar, well, you can buy by the gram, because I'm just going by the existing dispensaries, you can go in and buy by the gram, half ounce, ounce.
Okay.
They have,
And you just show them your card?
you should, and the system that's coming online is, the cards will be swipeable into a computer system. So
Oh,
you'll swipe that card, it tells you this person is legal, you look at his license, swipe the license, and that way it verifies.
that's better,
Yeah,
Yeah, you just
they've done a lot of
can't
work.
walk in now.
Yeah.
right.
What they're really doing is they pretty much copied Colorado,
Non-expired one.
and because they've already done everything.
Right.
Colorado, there's not one child that pays for school lunches.
Did you watch that this morning?
I know.
No.
There was some
No,
great
I
news out
read
today
the
about
law.
Colorado, unbelievable. Even down in
But-
township and city,
yeah.
building new fire department, new police department.
Yeah,
You know,
that,
18
that,
million
that whole
building.
town
Yeah.
has, it's brand
It's
new.
Quite impressive.
Washington did well, but I think Colorado had all the ducks in a row.
Right.
Michigan's law is
Models
going
it.
to be very similar to Colorado's law.
Yeah. And then what they're also gonna do on the provisioning centers is there'll be a 3% tax that'll be split up statewide from municipalities that participate and counties that participate. And that's divided up between the sheriff's department, the state police, the state obviously taking the largest cut, and then municipalities also. And starting off, it's not like the municipality's gonna get rich off this, but down the road, it could provide some money.
When it turns from medical to recreational like Colorado,
Mhm.
that's when
Right.
you get a ton of money.
It is.
That's
That's
why,
right.
we
Yeah.
all know
Yes.
why they made the
And it's
change.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen probably next vote.
Yeah.
I'd be real surprised if it didn't. So then this is, the medical side of it is now mute and, but the thing is, Colorado's got a huge, low unemployment rate because, we plan on employing quite a few people. So all in just the Traverse City area with all of them that are coming in, Cause most of the town, the only one that's really not gonna allow anybody right now is Garfield Township, but you can still grow and do other things, but you can't have a provisioning center in Garfield Township, but you can have everything else.
Right. You currently can have a grow facility in Garfield Township, there's probably 7 of them right now.
A grow facility?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Surprised us too.
Yeah.
But no provision.
And who I mean, who,
Currently, right now, nobody
Does currently.
Doesn't, won't Blair out?
Not
Blair was gonna be regulating,
Right.
well, they will,
but currently,
yeah.
Yeah,
they regulate people getting the power.
but after December,
Yeah,
that's one,
Right, after
Kinda
December
like-
15th.
kinda like the liquor law, or the, yeah.
See, right now, there's no taxes, and the
Right.
states realize that they're losing out on a ton of money.
Correct.
right.
So all this is changing and it's becoming legal to do this, and in December it will be legal. They're allowing the townships though, just to make up their mind whether they want to allow,
If you wanna participate or if you don't.
yeah.
That's the first step.
Yep.
That is,
So if you all
that's
vote
the
yes
number.
tonight,
You'll be ready to go.
That'll be a huge part of it.
That's the number one step, and there's 5 different types of facilities. There's the provisioning center,
Yep.
which is not just the marijuana, but there's oils, there's edibles,
Salves,
there's
edibles.
salves, there's barbecues, whatever.
Right.
there's everything,
Yes.
water.
There is, that's the provisioning center, then there is the grow op
Yep,
itself, which, I believe the state is mandating it be, a grow op be set up either in an industrial or an agricultural
Right.
area. Then there is a transport facility, which the state's gonna require 2 drivers, so they'll go to their,
grow
wherever.
facility,
Pick up their crops.
yep.
And
Scan
take-
it all, just like
Yes,
you'd
and
scan
it's going to be really, really highly regulated and controlled by the state
Oh,
of
you
Michigan.
can't cheat it.
You have to have a CDL, you have to have 2 people, they're.
Armed.
Yeah, you can't leave your vehicle because it's cash deal, because this, bottom line, is still illegal federally.
Right,
Right,
so I,
The state's allowing it
right.
in December, but it's still federally illegal, so it's gonna be a cash deal. That's probably the biggest risk, is like the provisioning center and the transporters are gonna be the ones carrying big loads of cash. There's the testing facility, that's the 4th, and what's the 5th one?
The 5th one, transporting, processing.
Processing.
People who will process
Yes.
oils, salves,
Yes.
infused waters, anything
Go to
that
the
you
provisioning
want really
center, and
small.
everything will be operated on a cash deal. But
okay,
Oh, you
State-
could use your Visa, MasterCard at that point. Once it's legal, you can use anything.
oh, that's not what Laura said.
Yeah,
No,
after
it's
December
cash.
15th.
yeah,
Really?
it's cash,
It's cash.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No,
Because it's
the bill-
federally
the bill that-
illegal.
yeah.
It's
the bill-
illegal
Oh.
federally, so they
Oh my.
cannot,
Yeah.
it's cash deal.
Right, cause they.
I didn't know that.
That's your biggest risk, that's gonna be your
Yeah.
biggest risk for robberies
Yeah.
and stuff
Right.
like that, is
Right.
because it's all cash.
Yeah.
Cause you can't, cause that's,
Yeah,
that's
we
weird, I
can
don't
find
understand
you
that, but
one.
that's, can you tell I've been taking classes?
Yeah.
I was
Look at
tired of
exterior.
this one.
So there's a lot for us to look into, I think,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
and study and research.
But our first step, you guys, is to continue educating ourselves and to discuss it, because even though the state's not ready for this, I had a meeting with the guy from Lara when we were down in Lansing.
Oh, nice.
They do not have their IT people in place
Right.
yet, they don't even have their board.
It's
It might not
it's
be
the
the
state,
same.
you know it's not gonna be quick.
Exactly.
Okay, so
But
these,
he
so,
did say that we as a board need to be discussing it this month, next month, to move, whether we wanna participate or not, and to change our zoning ordinance, and it is up to us. We could say to them, well, okay, we're gonna allow a grow up, but no provisioning centers. Or we're gonna allow provisioning centers, but no grow ops, and we put the number on it.
okay.
And the other thing I liked about this that I think is important to know is these guys will only get licensed for 1 year. And then
And then
they
we-
have to reapply every single year. So if they came into our township, say we allowed it, they came in, and at any time, a police officer can walk in without a warrant, without notice.
Yeah.
So can we, as officials inspect them. But if they're shady,
Test it.
and no, if they're shady and they don't
That's the other
follow,
business.
they don't follow the rules and
Then
the
you
law,
can-
or we see an increase in crime, we have our
The right
community
to
police
change.
officer saying, you guys know, this first year was a tester, it didn't work.
Right.
Then we contact the state, and the state will say, I'm sorry guys, but we are not renewing your license, you're done. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how controlled they're gonna be, so, that's another.
And the nice thing is, you can, you know, screen the applicants just like the state, I mean,
Right.
you know, do background checks on me and him, and we're, you know, as a matter of fact, some of you might even know my brother was a state policeman, and his dad was a retired state cop. So, we're just straight up, that's why we come to the board and try to explain what we need to explain.
Right. Well, it's a whole learning process for everybody.
It is,
Absolutely.
it really is.
It's all change.
It was for me tonight, because I thought the Visa and MasterCard thing was a great idea.
Not yet.
Can't do it.
Hasn't come off.
It's not fresh, so just so you know, I mean, that does,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know, because there was a police officer in this class with the guy from, Lara, and the police officer saying, oy, oy, oy.
That's great, you got to see that,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
ask questions, and
Yeah,
that was,
and we had
that's
attorneys,
great.
there was 2 attorneys, a cop, the guy from the state, which I know the state's not ready for this, they don't even have their board.
Right.
Yes, this might not even happen in December, it
Right.
probably won't, it
By law,
probably
it has
be.
But they highly
Oh, really?
encouraged us to talk about it and move forward, make a decision. And the other thing, they're gonna give out so many licenses.
And that's it.
So if it's something to consider, cause there is good revenue to be made for the municipalities,
Yeah.
the sheriff's department,
Mhm.
fire EMS even.
As a matter of fact, that's one of the handouts I think we brought when we met with you before.
Did you, I
Yes.
pulled
Covers
off
the breakdowns for them,
Yes.
and the one you're reading right there.
Yes.
I got this off of the state of Michigan, this just has the public acts and I pulled the Lara stuff. The federal questions from Lara.
Yeah, that's a good analysis.
That's a
done by
good one,
lawyers.
Dennis.
Oh.
That's very, very accurate.
I did not get this in my packet.
We do?
I don't think there wasn't anything in the board packet.
Well, Carl
I
has.
got one.
What's that?
I don't have one, I pulled my own.
It's the one that this guy's brought in.
Yeah, it's the one we brought a month ago.
Yeah.
He's got a copy right here
Oh
also.
my
We made
God,
copies of
actually,
it.
for some
Why do I not
reason,
remember
he
this? I
thinks
put the
he's
board
got
packets
my
together.
patient, and, he eats it. So that we recommend that anyway, because, smoking has
Interesting, no.
Does anybody else have any other questions for us?
really for me, I don't like getting in front of
I don't
people.
have.
No,
it.
John, can you talk to the whole board?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Get it.
I was just kind of explaining something. You know, my dad, who's 84, he is one of my patients, and he uses it for his arthritis. And he doesn't have to get on, well, that's one of the reasons he couldn't, because it was so expensive to get the arthritis medicine.
The oil, just use the oil.
He uses a topical, which is a cream, and then he'll eat a little bit of my, what I call earwax. And he has no problems. It just works.
I say we, put it on the agenda to start discussing next month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you guys, I will photocopy, actually, what I'll do is I'll scan and then I'll email all the information that I got down in Lansing, and send it out, so everybody has a whole month to read it and questions, and, I know these 2 are willing to, if you have a question, pick up the phone and call
Absolutely.
them, or even myself, I've
Anytime.
got 2 classes now on it, so, but I will scan and email everybody, so we're prepared to talk about it, maybe have Lindsay here,
Great.
at our next meeting.
Okay, so now tell me all the people that are like growing right now.
Oh,
I mean,
Tell you.
there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
well, there's 1,000 probably in Blair
Oh.
Township.
Yeah, that's a much smaller scale. Those people
Yeah.
are
Yes.
care providers. They're providing for up to 12 patients.
Up to 5 patients, all plants.
12 plants.
Yeah.
These guys are talking about
500,
plants, 1,000 plants, or 1,500 plants. This
It's a
is
commercial
a
growing
commercial,
facility.
it's a commercial business.
Right.
So,
Okay.
There's a business going into Kingsley, did you see
Right.
that?
Yeah, there's a huge.
Yeah, that's,
And they're putting
that's
like
kinda like what the
I
guy
don't,
was here talking
did they
about.
approve it?
I don't think it's been approved yet.
But that's from, isn't it a Canadian company
Right,
though?
that's a
Why-
Canadian company, and they're coming in. There's one
They're-
thing in the law that they have, people participating as far as starting a business, testing facility, any of this has to be a 2-year resident of Michigan. So it's keeping people from California flying in,
Okay,
setting up a huge market,
Okay.
and so on. The Canadian company is not actually gonna be operating a grow, they are gonna be leasing out space in a grow facility.
Just like the guy that was up here.
Almost exactly.
Okay.
Yes, he's gonna rent out, he's gonna just deck this whole place out, I can't even remember the square footage, 20-some thousand square feet.
pretty big
And he's gonna make
facility.
individual rooms for people to rent,
Right.
and so that's how they're doing it, but they're really gearing towards when it turns recreational too. And it'll be there, 2 years will be up,
Right,
Right,
that's the Canadian company.
yeah,
okay,
which I'm not real happy about, but what are you gonna do?
yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Guys,
You guys.
thank you.
Thanks.
Samples next time?
There you go.
Oh, I was
There
crazy.
was on the CBS News this morning, there was a little clip on, I'm sure it was maybe Edgewater, or it began with E, a town in Colorado that redid their roads, a lot of their infrastructure, redid some of their buildings, all with tax money from the,
Sale.
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
Today is 4/20.
Oh, today is 4/20, yeah,
Appropriate, too.
yeah, 4/20.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
folks.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was
I didn't know, but
That's nice.
what's 4/20?
Okay, beach bums fireworks. Jen?
Okay,
I think it's state law that the township has to approve any display fireworks, which is not going, people going to the store to buy them, but professionals set them off. We do this every year, they provide, insurance, they provide licenses, federal licenses, they provide transport licenses, and they list all of the operators, and they've been good, and they've been above board, and I recommend that you, allow them to continue the tradition of fireworks at the beach ball game.
Jim,
Yes,
so the recommend, approve the request from Shockwave Pyro?
that's the name of the company that's doing
Is
this
that a new one?
display. Well, it's a company that, the same company does it, but it was bought by somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Joe's not the guy that owns it anymore.
Okay, that's,
It's his
I've
company.
known him, okay, got it.
And I recommend everybody come out and see me.
They're very professional, they don't take chances, there's nothing flippant
right.
and nonchalant about what they do, because they realize how dangerous it can be.
Motion to approve the Beach Bones fireworks schedule for, summer of 2017. Do you want the dates in there?
No.
No?
Okay.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. To allow beach bums firework season 2017. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Surplus items, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. I would make a motion to declare, one Xerox Work Center copier and 2 IBM Wheelwriter 6 typewriters as surplus, and have Bill dispose of them as he sees fit. I think, we might be able to get some money for the work center. The typewriters have been around here for, I don't know how long, and have not been used in the 10 years I've been here.
Well, we have that
The court's still,
policy on surplus items.
there's still court
Yes.
documents you had.
You can, on eBay,
Yeah,
Craigslist,
yeah.
not dispose of it.
Well, that's what I meant
Okay.
when I said
Okay.
dispose of, I meant,
I'll support that motion.
yeah.
It's been moved and supported to declare the Xerox Work Center IBM Wheelwriter 6, IBM Wheelwriter 6 as surplus, and to have Bill follow the policy and get rid of the surplus equipment. All in favor?
Aye.
Date change on public hearing for 2018 budget. I'm having a hard time with 2018. I can't believe that's coming.
Because we're working with, that's why.
So we talked about this at the budget meeting earlier today. When Tracy, Nicole, Dan and Jim and I went to the budgeting class, they recommended not adopting your budget at the same meeting that you hold your public hearing on the budget. Because if someone has, you know,
Questions?
if the public have questions or issues, and then you just turn right around and adopt it, you're not really listening. I mean, you're listening, but
Taking
Not
that thoughts
Yeah.
into consideration.
exactly. So, when Tracy, Nicole, and I sat down to do the schedule for the budget meetings, we thought it would be better to hold a public hearing on at the May 9th town board meeting, and then adopt the budget at the June 13th. So I just need a motion to hold a public hearing on May 9th instead of June 13th.
I'll make a motion for the public hearing on May 9th,
2017.
2017, and adopt it on the 13th, right?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to change the date on the public hearing for the 2017-2018 budget. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution number 2017-03. This is the grant for the voting equipment that we had to take off the agenda last month.
It's the resolution to apply for the grant.
Right?
So, like I said in my memo, all three of the vendors, stated that they will negotiate the pricing so that none of the townships have to come up with any funds to cover the cost. So we will get 5 tabulators, 4 for the precincts and 1 for my AV counting board, and then we will get 2 handicap accessible voting machines. I currently have 3, they're being a little stingy. It's because all of our precincts are in the same building. They're not in the same room. If they're all in the same room, they would probably give me 1. But, so we need to pass the attached resolution. And then later this year, we will get the grant application paperwork to approve and return to the state.
Oh, okay.
We had budgeted $50,000 in the 16-17 budget for election equipment. So that won't be used. There is some money. I'm gonna need to replace some laptops. And, the county has to buy some election management software that they're not sure if they're gonna be able to cover the cost on. So, the townships may all help with that, but that should all be in next year's budget. I have I figured that for my part of
Okay.
next year's
Okay.
budget.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution number 2017-03, apply for the grant for the voting equipment.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to adopt the resolution 2017-03, applying for the grant for the new voting equipment. Roll call vote.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Zeitz,
Yes.
Von Schein,
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Kuchera,
Yes.
Klaus.
Yes.
Discussion on notary charges, which I think
Took care of
we
earlier.
resolved that at budget hearing today, so, just so you guys know, township residents and or taxpayers, there will be no charge. Non-residents, non-taxpayer will be a $10 charge.
I have mine, so we can stop by.
And Tracy and Jane both have,
As it is, usually where I live, it's kind of.
okay, requests for bids for yearly audit.
Was I supposed to bring something?
No, well, I don't know.
I'm not bringing, I reached out to 5 companies. I haven't heard back from 2 of them. One of them said thanks but no thanks because of our current practices. And 2 of them said we would do it if you hired an accounting firm to prepare your books. Currently, our auditors are auditing their own work.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are. As an accountant, I can tell you, they are auditing their own work. So, the ones that I reached out to, said the only way that they would do it was if we had a professional prepare our books first, and then they would audit them.
What do you mean prepare our books?
Currently, our auditors right now are giving the list of journal entries for us to enter. And that, so they're telling, giving a 4-page list of journal entries and saying when that enter these as adjusting year-end journal entries. They can't really do that because it's their own work. So, it's an impairment of independence.
I would like to read this that I got off the MTA website. It's a question and answer thing, and it says, according to the state treasurer's letter under the GAO, which is, governmental accounting office, rules, under the GAO standards, our auditors cannot perform bookkeeping services for our townships. What constitutes bookkeeping? The GAO rules prohibit auditors from maintaining the official accounting records of a governmental unit subject to Yellow Book audit rules. However, GAO independence rules generally rely on the facts and circumstances of each non-audit engagement to determine what is permissible. The overarching principles contained in the new rules look at the substance, not the form, of the activity. Auditors can lend technical advice and assist with recording authorized transactions, create trial balances from the books, and convert the records from cash to accrual with approval and oversight of township management. However, under GAO standards, auditors cannot maintain the township's books. Under AICPA standards, auditors can perform certain bookkeeping functions, record transactions for which township management has determined or approved the appropriate account classification, or post coded transactions to a client's general ledger.
And that is a correct statement.
They are not keeping our books.
They are not keeping our books, they are telling you what to do because you don't have that knowledge. you don't have that education, they cannot, can they do that?
No, I was just gonna offer that I know some organizations, some CPAs who do audit work. So if you wanna bring in an outside CPA, I can give you some names and addresses and phone numbers. But yeah, your internal auditors are not doing the official annual audit. They're assisting the accounting and bookkeeping staff to make sure that you're doing your debits and credits correctly.
Right, if you had a.
Well, I think what we need to do is bring in our auditing firm and bring in our attorney, because this needs to come to rest.
But we still have to
Sounds
put it out
good
to
to me.
bid too, because we haven't for.
Which is
umpteen
fine,
years.
that's fine.
Yeah, would you like some names for?
Yes, cause I got a couple at MTA, cause like I said, I've reached out to 5, one said,
Oh, I think we should,
no thanks.
this is a board discussion right now,
Oh, I'm sorry,
so-
she was looking at me and asking.
Right, but we're right now discussing this as a board, and then,
Okay.
sorry.
But yeah.
I don't have a problem going out to bid. I don't have anything to hide. I'm not embezzling or anything like that. I don't have a problem going out to bid. What I do have a problem with is people saying that our auditors are doing illegal and unethical things. That's all I've got to say.
They are. It is a true statement, they are doing unethical stuff.
Like I said, like Nicole said, I think the auditors need to be at the next meeting so that they can defend themselves.
Yes.
They do have a reputation in this town.
Yes, and they are auditing firm for several other townships in this area.
What are they auditing
So-
from for?
They audit for Peninsula.
Okay, well,
I believe they audited for Whitewater.
Yeah, so again,
and who else?
we will, I think we should bring in our firm, bring in our attorney, and I'm not opposed to going out for bid, we haven't gone out for bid for years.
For quite a while.
Yeah.
What I was going to recommend was that we go through, because of all the changes with BSNA and everything that's going on, is to maybe go through one more audit with them.
I wouldn't feel comfortable signing off with them at all, period. And that, so if they need my office to sign off from them, I would not be comfortable. As an as somebody that has taken the CPA exam, that knows the licensing, knows the requirements, myself, I would not sign off with them. I would not. So if they need me to, I can't do it. If they don't need me to and the board approves it,
Well, I would request that we have Tobin and Company and our township attorney at the May meeting. I don't know if you want a motion, but I would request that.
Yes, motion, I'll second that.
I would even say bring in another CPA
Fine with me.
to speak. Cause even when that emailed a gentleman that taught classes down at MTA, and he said, my peer review would kill me if I audited my own work.
We have a motion and we have support to request Tobin, a representative from Tobin, who does our audit, and our township attorney to be at our May meeting.
And does everybody has a copy of the last audit?
They were all
Yes.
given one.
Right, everybody, yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Yeah, they're supposed to write in the back of the audit, their journal entries, and don't do that.
They gave me a copy.
I know, but it's supposed to be written in the notes in the audit. Devil's in the details.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? joint meeting with the Township Board, Planning Commission, and ZBA.
You know, when would we like to do this?
Well, that's a good question, and it just dawned on me, we just set meeting schedule and budget hearings, but we should schedule like quarterly meetings.
We should.
With 3 boards, and set it quarterly, put it out there just like we do our year, and then
Or even
then we're
twice
set
a
for the year. No, I
Spring,
think
fall.
quarterly. I really truly do, especially with this being a new board, a
Mhm.
fairly new planning commission.
Mhm.
I think that's a good idea. It just dawned on me.
How the growth is gonna happen.
Right.
And it would be really nice at the first one, if the attorney could be there and we can
Yes.
walk through
Yes.
the master plan at the same time, since the planning commission, the ZBA, and the board will be there. So we can figure out which way this is to lead and how it's to go forward from here.
So are we picking a date tonight, or are we just gonna?
I'm just looking if anybody wants to discuss it any further, and if not, we can talk about it at budget hearing, at our next budget hearing
Okay.
meeting, and set a meeting schedule
Okay.
for quarterly
Yeah,
meetings
that
with the
sounds
3
good.
boards.
All right,
That sounds good.
perfect.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay. Attorney bill for January through March of 2017 from this, I think this is a good way.
Thank you for.
Yes, there you go. Each time we receive a bill, just to include it for everybody to see.
Mhm.
Any questions, any discussion? Traverse City Boom Boom Club donations. The Boom Boom Club sent an email, I guess in the past, they have been given a, I think, $250 donation from the township to go towards the, fireworks, the 4th of July in Traverse City. And it's, I believe, been done.
It's been done the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to donate $250 to the Traverse City Boom Boom Club fireworks.
Supported.
It's been moved and supported to donate $250 to the Traverse City Boom Boom Club for 4th of July fireworks. Roll call vote.
Klaus,
Yes.
Kutrop,
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Wright,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Sunshine,
Yes.
Wolfgang.
Yes. And just by the way, that is a legal expenditure. One of the few things we can donate to that's legal.
Thank you.
Extended public input.
Okay, last time I was here with you guys, I'm Linda McGinnity, I've been a resident for over 30 years, 4149 Canterbury Lane. And last time I was here, we were looking at this, and I've had a chance to print it out and read it. What have you guys done in the master plan? Is that still tabled, or, I'm just curious?
It was turned over to the township attorney for his review and then his opinion on it, and he will get back with us when he's done with it.
Oh, okay. Well, I've read this, and if I really need to get some sleep, I read it again. It's just the facts, just the facts. But no, I found this quite interesting, especially the difference between the future land use map and the current land use map. That, the difference is astounding, isn't it? It truly is. But, I'm a big proponent for all of the trails, for the nature trails and all that, I love that. I'm a little nervous, however, about US 31, because that's 55 miles per hour. I'm not sure if I want anybody
Bike trails
walking
or
or
anything.
biking on 31, I mean, I know they do in Traverse City, but the speed limit there is 25 to 45.
If there was to be a bike trail, it would be, if there would ever be the way to get the existing rail there, it would be on the other side of it.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be like a bike trail on 31.
Why is it
Okay.
mapped out as that? When it didn't have-
Yeah, it
Is
is
it,
mapped
well,
out.
it's
Why
not,
not?
that's not
It's
the way.
mapped right alongside the highway.
Yeah, it is. So I was like, no. Okay,
They
yeah.
ride there anyway, so
Huh?
they're on the road
Not
anyways.
as if there was a bike trail, they don't.
Well, if they had like a type
There was a
trail, they
Right.
would
Oh, yeah,
they would be
yeah,
on the trail and not next to the highway.
okay.
You know, so that's,
That's.
The railroad trail. That's
yeah.
where they should be, on the railroad.
Yeah,
pavement.
that was probably just, my only concern. This is a pretty awesome, what can we do to get MDOT to give us a stoplight at Dance Road 37?
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Pray a lot.
Really?
You'll
And I
see,
think that's probably
you'll-
gonna be back on MDOT's
Yeah.
docket with the development that's happening. And there's
Yeah.
no reason that it shouldn't be.
There's
Or
been
couldn't
at least 5 or 6 developments in the past 37
Yes.
years adding up the
Yes.
traffic in that corner.
Yep.
I've
And I
left a
think
lot of rubber on that corner. We all have. So, that was my input tonight. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
You're all doing a
Thank
great job. Sorry I butted in, but,
No, it's fine.
in my wheelhouse.
Thank you.
Any other public input? Oh, hearing none. Motion? Motion to